What's up, list nerds? Force 5 is a show about movie-related top 5 lists, hosted by me, Blacklist screenwriter and ex-video store cinephile Jason Kleberg. I have a new guest on each week, and the guest gets to pick the topic. Past guests have included film directors, screenwriters, actors, critics, comedians, rappers, artists, and other podcasters. Love or hate our picks, you're guaranteed to walk away thinking, what would be on my list? Search Force 5 wherever you get your pods, or head to force5podcast.com.
All right, well, get out your naked demon snake ladies. Nick, one of these movies, much like our beloved Ninja Scroll, has a naked demon snake lady. Our favorite thing now, I guess, on Filmshake. This is Filmshake, the 90s movies podcast, covering movies from the 90s, some good, some bad, some rad, some bodacious. I'm Jordan.
And this is Nick.
Hey, Nick, it's episode 53, and we're here to talk about Night of the Demons and Night of the Demons 2. One of these being a 90s movie, and don't be confused by another movie called Night of the Demon singular, where an evil Bigfoot rips off a dude's wing. Check that out if you've got the time. Did you watch Night of the Demon? I know I told you about it, and you're like, whoa, that sounds interesting.
No, but I did watch Night of the Demons, the other Night of the Demons, the Night of the Demons from 2009, just to make things even more confusing.
So many Nights of the Demons, or Demon 2, or Demon 3. Yeah, you. It sounds like you really went out of your way, even though I'm pretty sure I lost the trivia battle as usual last time. Yes, we have a trivia battle at the end of the show, every show, so stick around for that. But
would our listeners
I'll lose
expect
terribly.
anything different at this point?
No.
From me?
No. Of course. Oh, from you. Meaning the onus of winning is on you rather than the onus of losing is on me. I'm the one doing the hard work here, Nick. I'm the one taking the hits and losing.
I just mean that I could have just watched one Night of the Demons movie, and instead I watched 4 Night of the Demons movies.
That's right. You did. So just like usual, you have you're a glutton for punishment. You're a masochist. So you went and watched even more possibly terrible movies.
In the spirit of these movies, I watched all 4 of these movies. That's right.
Right. So you have Night of the Demons, which is from the 80s. Night of the Demon 88, is it?
That is
Night
correct.
Of the Demons? Yeah, 88. Then you've got Night of the Demons 2 from 94.
That is also correct.
I believe. And then I'm lost after that. We've got a 3 somewhere, 97 maybe?
That's correct.
Oh, okay. Hey, if I get the next one, I think I should just win trivia. And then a remake from 2011.
Oh, you lose, my friend. 2009. 2009.
2009. Okay. So you watched all of these.
All 4, buddy. All 4. More than once.
Oh, wow. Okay. You're a trooper. You're the true dedication of this podcast, for sure.
I watched all 3 Cruel Intentions movies, man. I watched all 4 Crow movies.
I think once you've done that, you can do anything. So this was probably just a piece of sesame cake for you.
Right. I'm pretty sure I could pierce any part of my body right now and just say to myself as the needle is going through the skin of any of those parts, I watched Cruel Intentions 3. This is nothing.
Bring it on. So I wanted to parse this out with you as far as how we're going to do, normally we do the Fallen Warrior review at the top of the show, the punishment movie from last time, and then we get into our main review. And like our last episode, we are covering 2 movies that are patron picks, both Night of the Demons and Night of the Demons 2, requested by Patreons or patrons Doug and Jamie from the Good Times Great Movies podcast, good friends of ours, great show on 80s movies. And so my question was, should we just reveal which movie we, kind of fight it out here and decide what movie we think is more of the punishment and slot that in the shorter segment and then dedicate a longer review to the one we like the most. Hopefully both on the same page, or actually maybe hopefully we have differing opinions and we can fight over this, because that would be fun. Or do you want to just go into all the terrible things that you watched extra and use that as your Fallen Warrior? And basically you're taking my spot here because I didn't do any extra homework. You did. So yeah, I can't speak to these atrocities that you've witnessed, but you can.
Jordan, a wise man on HBO, once said time is a flat circle, but I'm of the opinion that there is one chronology and one chronology alone. The flow of time is set, it goes in one direction, and Jordan, we must go chronologically. We can't confuse things here. It doesn't matter which movie is best and which movie is worst. We have to go from 88 to 09, right?
All right. I'm good with that. And so, in a way, Night of the Demons 88 is falling into the Fallen Warrior review spot, if you will. I guess, we could argue that and argue if it deserves that or not. But I think chronologically will be interesting, and then starting here will be interesting to see how we both feel about this one. So,
all right,
are you ready to jump in? Or I know, hey, it's October, it's horror movie season. We've both probably been watching a good bit of horror, and I was just curious up top. Do you want to get into anything you've been watching lately? Kind of just riff on the season overall in general.
I tell you what, if you want to know what I've been watching, I've been posting a review a day at thenexperiment.blogspot.com, and I've watched like 30 movies, so I can't really pick one in particular out. Just go visit that website, and you can read all the reviews.
There you go. That'll be fun. Good stuff. Yeah, I've been enjoying your reviews there, and trying to share them on our Twitter. So, speaking of Twitter, there was this lots of horror movie talk going around, and good friend Jackson Boren is always communicating with him on the Twitter sphere. Somehow this came up, and we were talking about, I forget, it was him, and then there were some other people involved, but basically talking about this marathon idea. Crap, I can't even remember how it started. Basically, it boiled down to, okay, I found this strange connection between watching Prom Night the other night for the first time, and it's not a great horror movie. I wasn't too thrilled with it, but it does have a great disco dance centerpiece with Jamie Lee Curtis just tearing it up on the dance floor. And somebody brought up Boogie Nights. Oh, and I Know What You Did Last Summer being released at the same time, and seeing that as like a double feature at some point. And I was like, oh, well, you could do a marathon idea of Prom Night with the disco, and then bring in Boogie Nights, and then you've got I Know What You Did Last Summer, the connection there. But also, I Know What You Did Last Summer totally rips off a big plot point from Prom Night, being like, oh, well, we saw these, we know the secret of this thing that was done when they were kids or whatever, and we're holding on to it now. The killer's back to get revenge. And then top off that marathon idea with Scream, because Scream is actually the reason why I watched Prom Night, because Jamie Kennedy's character name drops Prom Night a whole lot, and the whole killer calling people on the phone thing connects there. So it's like, there you go, horror movie marathon idea for anybody who's looking for a horror movie marathon idea. Prom Night, Boogie Nights, throw that in there as a curveball. I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Scream.
There you go. That's a day's worth right there.
That's right. Just spend your whole day watching those movies.
You know what I'm going to say to that, though, Jordan? Screw the daytime. It's time for 1988's Night of the Demons.
In a crucifixation, ecstasy, lying cross-checked in agony. Stigma to bleed continuously, potent hells and demons before me.
Yes. So this was, like I said, Doug's request. We're splicing this up chronologically. We shouldn't say what we think is the worst movie at this point. I think it'll be just revealed naturally as we progress, right?
Correct, Mundo.
how did you feel about Night of the Demons, or do you want to get into the plot and just what is this movie about, basically? Or, like anybody listening to this, yeah.
You want to call in and tell us what this movie's about?
Right. Does anybody want to tell me? Yeah. What is this? Doug, where's Doug? Where's the phone of Doug when you need it?
Well, Night of the Demons is sort of your stereotypical 80s haunted house horror movie. You've got a bunch of dumb, horny teenagers in various states of unclothedness or non-clothedness who go to a house, act very stupidly, act very hornily, and then get diced to bits, this time by a demonic force. Because the land that this house was built on, wait, did I say house? I meant this mortuary where it seems hundreds of people have been slaughtered and which no one has been inside of in seemingly decades. These teenagers decide, what if we just had a Halloween party here? Like, forget going to the lame school party. Forget just having a party at one of our houses when our parents aren't home. Let's go to this morgue and let's have a party there.
Yeah, we really have to up the ante, because all these other things have been done before. So, let's conjure some demons and let's get real, guys.
Right. I'm not going to say what my opinion of the movie is overall, but I do like, as a huge fan of ghost films in general, that this film draws a line and says, this is not a ghost film, because ghosts haunt. This is not a haunted house. I misspoke earlier. This is a possessed house. Demons possessed, ghost haunt. And the beings in this building that are dicing up the kids and that want to possess them and take them over, these are demons. These have never been people before. These are evil, satanic forces from hell, Jordan.
Right. Because you've got this kind of creepy dinosaur skeleton-looking demon that's kind of ethereal. It doesn't really touch anybody, I don't think, but it just appears and okay, this is a symbol for, okay, evil shit is afoot. And then I do dig there's some POV camera stuff, which, any good horror movie is going to have some POV shots from the killer's perspective. But in this case, the POV is the demonic spirit, floating spirit itself. So it's kind of floating through the air, going through doorways, and then going up to the characters and into their mouths, basically. And then the next time we see those characters, they've got the crazy demonic makeup on and they're all, jacked up teeth and, boiled faces and stuff.
I like the term boiled faces. That
Boiled
definitely defines
faces.
the makeup look here. And
Yes.
another detail here with, this of course being an 80s movie with dumb, horny teenagers, the demon's favorite way to go from person to person is by making out. So if someone in this movie comes at you with their mouth wide open to kiss you, you should just murder them and run away because they are demon possessed and they want to put that demon inside you with their tongue.
Yeah, it's sorry, Stooge, she's really not into you. She just wants to turn you into a demon.
Oh, Stooge. So
Stooge, yeah.
There's a basic framework for this film. Before we get to the house, you've got this old man who is walking outside the front of his house.
Old man. Yeah.
And these kids...
I forgot about the old man.
Oh, how could you forget?
With the razors and the apples, just...
Well, wait. Don't spoil it,
Very
Jordan. Don't spoil it.
very very stereotypical old angry man yelling at a cloud.
Right.
Yelling at all the teenagers.
He's yelling at... Well, the damn kids moon him, Jordan. It's gross, man. The kids drive by, they yell at him, they moon him.
To be fair to the kids, and I read that the actor who played Stooge didn't want to actually show his bare ass. It's he's wearing some Halloween jack-o'-lantern underwear or something, but he's, they're obviously very rude to the old man.
He tells them they're going to get what's coming to them, Jordan. They're going to get it. And then that's it. We don't see him again until the final scene of the movie. So
well, he does pull out the apples and the pack of razors, and he's got the crazy grin on his face,
Right.
You're going to get what you deserve. Yeah. I'm going to put these in all your apples that I give out for Halloween because that's exactly what kids want for, instead of candy.
These aren't trick-or-treat age children, right? These are
right.
25-year-old actors and actresses playing 17 and 18-year-olds. They're
Right.
not coming around your house with a trick-or-treat bag, buddy.
Even as a 17-year-old, it's yeah, I'm going to get you when you come trick-or-treating later, you 17-year-old. I'm going to give you this apple. But of course, yeah, it plays into the whole age-old urban legend, from days on past about Halloween and the razor blades and the apples and everything. So I dig that, that it's just kind of like a nod to that, even though it's completely unrealistic.
Right. You get a lot of little urban legend things like that tossed in, and there are just a lot of. All right, I'm going to come out and say it, Jordan. I'm spoiling it. I like Night of the Demons 2 way more than I like this movie.
Shocker.
there are certain choices in Night of the Demons 2 which align that movie a lot more with, say, Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness that I just enjoy more. Oh, wait, do you feel the same way? Are we on the same page?
Well, we'll see.
Okay, all right.
I'm not. Just because you revealed yourself doesn't mean I have to reveal myself.
I've laid my cards on the table, but yours are still hidden. Okay, so this movie, Night of the Demons, this first movie from 1988, it was panned when it was released. It made a little bit of money. I mean, it did well enough to get 2 sequels and a remake. But it didn't review very well, and this isn't like a very well-known movie. I mean, if I asked my older cousins who would have been gone to see these kind of movies at that time, hey, what about Night of the Demons? They'd be like, Nightmare on Elm Street? And I'd be like, no, Night of the Demons. Like, a lot of people don't know about this movie per se, but aesthetically, this movie just has a lot of the stuff to where if you're really nostalgic about 80s horror, all of those textures are in this movie. I mean, you've got a ton of nudity. You've got a ton of just like that 80s, like foggy, soft lighting. You have like a lot of like harsh light flowing through that foggy lighting. And then you
got
have
the boiled faces.
The boiled faces. I mean, the 80s style makeup. It's all here. Yeah. But for me, you got these kids, going to this party after that early setup. You get the scene where Judy, our main character, our final girl for this movie,
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah. Right. You get, of course, just a random scene of her changing clothes.
Right.
And then her brother pops out, which was one of my favorite scenes in all 4 of these movies.
Nice cha-cha, sis.
Right. What do you say?
It's like, what kind of perv brother is that? I guess that's okay in the 80s, It's just like, let me check on my sister's breast, and like, I don't know. It's just not that he really was checking them out, but why was he in the closet otherwise, I'm gonna watch my sister undress and pop out with my Halloween mask. Well, yeah, I guess he was trying to scare her because he had the Halloween mask on, right?
Right.
But then he's just kind of making fun of her. He's like, you have giant breasts.
Yeah, and he's like, if they get any bigger, you're going to have to get somebody else to tie your shoes for you, because if you bend over, you're just going to fall down.
Yeah, which, I mean, he's right, and it's like, how are these 17-year-olds? I don't know. But
Right.
It's the biggest 17-year-old knockers I've ever seen.
And look, I mean, I saw a few people in their underwear in the 80s. I don't remember everyone wearing transparent bras and panties. Like, I don't feel like that was the style for all high school girls at the time. I feel like you were probably worried more about like support and comfort, but what do I know? Maybe everyone just wears like really thin black lace, transparent bras or white lace.
I like they were analyzing like the design of the bra that she wears, like comparing it to the realism of like what people wore in the 80s.
Right, we were worried beforehand that this episode was going to end up too short, and now we're like breaking down the minutia of like undergarments, right?
Right. Well, you're talking about the 80s-ness of this, and that's one aspect that I did dig. The score is very 80s, very synth, and it's pretty driving throughout. The punkiness of it, there's a punk aesthetic to some of the characters like Stooge and like, who's the guy that pops out of the coffin? I forget his name. Coffin Boy. Boiled face guy. But there's punkiness to, like, they've got anarchy symbols everywhere, like on their car and their t-shirts, and even just down to the makeup and the setting and everything is just kind of like run down and grungy. So there's that feel of it too. It reminds me of just recently watched for the first time Return of the Living Dead, which I know we had talked about a little bit just texting. So that's 1985, a little bit before this, and it actually has the girl who plays Suzanne, the one who's basically notable for being mostly nude and playing with lipstick on her boobs. She's also in Return of the Living Dead, so that's a little connection there for you. But yeah, there's a huge like punk aesthetic to that movie, and so just reminded me of that here, which I dig that.
Yeah, for sure, man. Aesthetics in this movie are a big deal if you're into that. And this was directed by Kevin S. Tinney, who really just kind of did some schlocky supernatural horror movies like A Witch Trap, Witchboard,
Yeah.
2, The Devil's Doorway, dude, Pinocchio's Revenge. I never saw this, but I remember laughing hysterically seeing the VHS cover for it at Vidiot's back in the day. He did the sequel to Charlie Sheen's Arrival. He did Arrival 2, the second Arrival from 1998.
He was an inventor of TikTok, apparently.
Okay.
No, he had a movie named TikTok.
Well, one thing about his direction, it's weird, right? So the aesthetics are all here, and long stretches of this movie go by that are, to me, pretty artless. Like, there's a really... What takes the movie down a lot for me is once they get in the house at a certain point, it's just people walking down foggy hallways for like minutes on end to where like I wanted to watch it on double speed. But every now and then you just randomly get like a really arty shot. Like there's a time where like a mirror breaks and then the camera pans down on the broken glass and like each individual character is reflected in like an individual piece of glass where it's just like a gorgeous shot. I'm like, wait, what movie is this? Where did this come from all of a sudden?
Yeah, that stood out to me. I was like, how did they do that? Like there's got to be a slant to the wall or something, you know, to achieve this without getting the camera in the shot. But yeah, there's little touches like that throughout that are interesting, or there's moments that are compelling. But I definitely agree. There was long stretches that didn't compel me. It felt like a really slow pace and didn't feel like particularly creative or well put together in the overall. You know, like little touches here and there, some aesthetics that I dug, but I did find myself kind of bored after a while. It was just like, okay, I don't really care about any of these characters. I'm not really rooting for anybody. I'm just waiting for some creative kills or some crazy wackiness. But for a movie that has boiled faces and has demons and like crazy shit going on, it's a little light on that too, where it feels like it just kind of repeats itself over and over until you get to the end.
We've talked about Troll 2 like 3 years ago. Troll 2, like I know a lot of people enjoy that movie for how bad it is, but for me, it's like there's 3 or 4 scenes that are so bad, like you have to see them. But then there's just like a lot of monotonous, boring crap that it's not worth sitting through to get to those scenes. And I didn't think this was like on that level, but you get like a really like transfixing scene, like where the character of Angela, who is in all of these movies, she gets possessed and really kind of becomes like the lead demon / villain of the series. There's a scene where she is dancing in front of a fireplace to a Baja song.
Stigmata.
Stigmata Martyr. Did I pronounce, I pronounce everything wrong.
Whatever. Bajas,
right.
Bahas.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's Bahas. Yeah.
There you go. Whatever it is.
She was dancing to that Bahas song, the Stigmata.
Right. Just like my favorite band, Sushi and the Banshees, right?
Yeah. Didn't you say that one episode?
Oh, I did. Yeah, I know it's Susie now, thanks to you. And I don't know how any of this stuff are pronounced because no one ever told me.
Live in the sticks. Nobody knows anything.
Nobody listens to Bajas or Susie and the Banshees in Point Coupee Parish. Hey, but that scene where she dances in front of the fireplace, that's like a really cool, hypnotic scene that's just kind of surrounded by monotony, where it's like if you're just thinking about like key moments in the movie feels like it's a lot better than it actually is.
Yeah, it's funny that they took that scene, or apparently from what I read, there was a big fan reaction to that scene and that dance. So it's like they try to basically stick that into every sequel and every, part of the next movies that came. And kind of diminishing results, but even that scene I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, she's dancing, she's kind of writhing around, and you've got the guy, the coffin boy guy, just kind of reacting to her like, whoa, and he's just like, oh, okay, I'm horny now or whatever. It's just like, okay, like it just feels like so many details don't move the plot forward. What little plot there is, basically like we're in a house full of demons and we're trying to get out, and that's about it. I just felt like I needed a little bit more story, and there wasn't much, beyond just how can we survive.
And in this first movie, the setting, I feel like a lot of the monotony almost comes from that, because it's like this just one house set that's not really dressed up very much, and you don't really ever leave there once you get there until the last scene, really. And even whenever you go outside, it just kind of feels like a back lot. even that gets monotonous, and it feels silly too. Like you're never like, oh gosh, are they going to make it at the end with the two final characters who survive?
Yeah.
It just feels kind of dumb, where like it reminded me of, like, I'm a huge old school Doctor Who fan. I love Doctor Who up until 89 when it originally ended, and I even like at least up to halfway through Matt Smith's tenure in the comeback. But even I'll say, like, in some of those old Doctor Who's, I love Sylvester McCoy, but there are a few episodes with kind of zombie-like beings that are chasing them, where the zombies are, like, reaching out to grab everyone, and it's like, for some reason, they just can't grab our main characters, and they're just fruitlessly grabbing and grabbing and grabbing, and it just goes on forever. And that really, for me, the last 20 minutes of this movie are that. Over and over and over again.
Did the boobs fake you out or creep you out when we have Suzanne? She's playing with the lipstick, and then she sticks the lipstick into her boob. Yeah, that was probably the one moment where I was like, "Oh, that's shocking and original. That's unique at least." There's lots of boobs in this movie, obviously, but then there's that one moment where before she does that, I'm like, wait, are those fake? Oh, wait, no, she just stuck that lipstick capsule into her breast. So obviously fake boobs, but yeah, that was standout moment for sure.
Right. Because a lot of times you're watching these horror movies, and sometimes someone will have gotten very obviously surgically enhanced breasts, and sometimes badly done, and you're like, oh man, well, that's rough. Okay. In this case, as soon as she took her top off, it was like, something is wrong here. And not like in real life, this actress got surgery at a cut rate place, maybe in South LA, that doesn't have a name above the door. And actually, I don't know the geography of Los Angeles. Maybe South Los Angeles is really nice. Apologies to Los Angeles. But they're just prosthetics so that she can shove an entire vial of lipstick through there. And that scene was interesting because it's like, this looks weird. What's going on? This is really weird. And, she draws all over the fake boobs with the lipstick and all over her face with the lipstick. That part stands out. I remember that scene.
I think it's telling that that's one of the key elements from this first movie that they bring back into the second one. Or like, maybe not a key element, but a small detail that they carry over and then it's kind of expanded upon in the sequel. So it's like, okay, yeah, they took the creativity of the first one, some of the standout moments, and then, they brought that to like a wider, expansive plate that we get in Night of the Demons 2. But I guess that's telling a little bit, I'm revealing a little bit of my cards here. Yes. Overall, like I said, didn't really compel, kind of slow paced. Like you said, just being stuck in this one location that wasn't beyond just like the immediate foggy creepiness of it. Yeah, the appeal kind of wore thin after a while, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to see something else, but I guess we'll have to wait to the end of the movie, and then the movie is over. I did think that the last part of them climbing up the wall with the barbed wire, like to get out, was just very effective as far as like, oh my god, that's terrible. Like, oh, you're having to climb with this barbed wire sticking in your hands, otherwise you're going to be eaten by these demons or whatever. So that was just like one other small detail that stood out, where it's like, okay, you've kind of woken me up from my stupor now. Okay, now the movie's over. We can go home.
Well, not quite over, Jordan, because we have to find out what happened to that grumpy jerk old man who is going to put razor blades in kids' apples. Well, the kids don't come to his house. That's right. The kids don't come to his house because, again, they're stupid, horny teenagers who want to go do it at a morgue and conjure demons and get possessed and all die that way, not by eating a razor blade from an apple.
Well, apparently not even the little kids come to his house because, like we find out, his wife's like, oh, we had a bunch of apples left over. And, we didn't have, it's a slow trick-or-treating night, probably because everyone's like, oh, don't go to that old grumpy ass old man's house,
Right. Here's what I think, though. I think he said, here, honey, hand these out to the kids. And his wife was like, my husband sucks. This guy needs to die. And these apples probably have razors in them. I'm not giving these to any of these children. I've got this secret candy bowl that I'll give them. And I'm going to save these for an apple pie that I'm going to make in the ending twist from the character we all forgot about from an hour and a half ago.
Right.
It's time this guy pays.
I do love a good bumper like that. Just like, oh, we're going to go back to this random character and just revisit this and kind of put a bow on it, you know? And of course she had to know because she says, "Happy Halloween, dear." But I mean, of course, she also made the freaking apple pie. To make an apple pie, you have to cut up the apples. Cutting up the apples, she's going to see the razors. She's like, I'll throw those in too and feed it to my husband.
Right.
You know? Because he sucks and I want him dead. And this is Halloween.
Well, he's a jerk to her, too. He's like, what, Mom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he sucks. But the final scene, you know, he eats the pie and then he starts choking and then the razor just like shoots out of his throat with gushes of blood. And then his face goes down into the now bloody pie. And like you said, she watches him die and then just walks over with a dead expression, kisses his head, says, "Happy Halloween, dear." And that's it. The movie's over. Night of the Demons is done.
It reminded me, that little scene reminded me of another tiny scene in Return of the Living Dead. And it doesn't have, like, it's not a spoiler or anything. It doesn't have anything to do mainly with the plot. But it's just like, we meet this military guy. He comes home to his wife. And she's like, "Oh, I made your favorite, lamb chops." And he's like, "I had that for lunch." And then he just walks away all angry. It's like, "I made your favorite food." You know, totally different situation. She's not trying to kill him with the lamb chops, but he's just also a grumpy ass dude who's just like immediately upset with his wife who also made him food. But yeah, Night of the Demons, got through it. I did enjoy that last bit with the old man. I can't argue. That was fun.
Man, I don't know why. Like I said after it happened, that was dumb. But I don't know, talking about it, like, I'm kind of enjoying it, just thinking about it. So maybe it was dumb, but I liked it.
It's more fun to talk about than actually watch. It might be one of those kind of movies. You know, it's like, oh, there's these little parts that are interesting, but it was kind of slog to get through. I ended up giving it a 2.5 out of 5. So it's pretty bad. Sorry, Doug. I know Doug loves these movies. I imagine he does. And I'm guessing he might be more of a fan of number 2, because that's the main one that he requested.
Right, and that is the 90s movie. Like, when we title this episode, we can't title it after a movie from the 80s, Jordan. This is Filmshake, the 90s movies podcast.
Yeah, 80s.
Well, I'll give it a 4 out of 10. I enjoy the aesthetics, but overall, I thought it was not a great movie. I think it's, like you said, more fun to talk about. Maybe we'll have even more fun talking about Night of the Demons 2.
Oh yeah, I think we will.
I was very frightened with this movie that it would be the same plot as the first movie, and there are moments where it seems like that might actually end up being the case. But thankfully it's not. We start off at this Catholic school, this Catholic high school, where people seem to be aware of what happened at the house, which we didn't even say what the house is called, Jordan. It's called Hull House. Hull.
That's right. Not Hell House, Hull House.
Hull House, like the hull of a death ship. Anyway, 6 years have passed since then, and they recovered everyone's body but Angela's. Angela's body is still there, and everyone says it. Her body has descended into hell. And you know what? Her parents have killed themselves, and they've sent their other daughter, Angela's sister, Melissa, who everyone calls Mouse, not affectionately. It's not a nice nickname. Everyone pretty much hates her, except Bibi, our main character.
At least they don't call her Maus, like the German mouse, like Holocaust mouse.
Yeah, Ball Mouse.
Ball Mouse.
I like the band, Bauhaus. Yeah, and she keeps having...
Bauhaus.
Yeah. She keeps having nightmares about Angela, and everyone's like, "Why are you screaming in your sleep and waking us up?" But we have a main crew of girls here. We have Bibi, played by Christy Harris. We have, by the way, I should mention Amelia Kincaid, who plays Angela. She plays her in the 3 original movies. All 3. She's in all 3 movies.
Yep. To me, like, is that kind of sad in a way? I don't know. It's just like, she was I guess age appropriate for the first one. By the second one, I feel like she's got to be like late 20s, early 30s. Third one, definitely pushing it, which I haven't seen. But I don't know, just seeing her attached to this, like, obviously she was a fan favorite in the first one. They brought her back. But I don't know, there's like a look to her here of like, I don't know, like an adult at a kid's party almost. It was just like, she's not quite right, but she still works overall, like there's a lot of other things that I love about this particular iteration. I wouldn't say she's like my favorite part, but yeah, well, how do you feel about her overall?
In the third movie, it's pretty much like, oh, let's go in this cool granny's house. But she has a sex scene in the third movie with like one of the kids too, where it's like, not only is she a demon, she's a demon in like a 40-year-old woman's body.
Right.
Sex with a teenager. So, yeah, I mean, she's fine. I get that you kind of need to have, like, a through line of a villain here, since, like, metaphysical, non-corporeal demons aren't really, like, a visual recurring motive, right? Because you can't even see them until they possess someone and maybe make them look like, they got boiled skin. So you kind of need the Angela character, just as, like, the Michael Myers, the Freddy Krueger, the Jason of the series.
It makes sense. I guess it's just like you listed out all these icons of horror, and I wouldn't put her up there in any regard. Just like,
she is a better dancer than them. She's a better dancer than everyone I mentioned.
She's got that. She could go toe to toe with Jamie Lee Curtis on the disco floor, I guess. Just put on some Bajas instead.
Right. But I tell you what, I've told you this before. I think one of the reasons that Doug asked us to cover these movies is Doug is a huge fan of the early 90s Nickelodeon program, Hey Dude. And Christine Taylor from Hey Dude is here. Marsha Brady herself as Terry. Yeah. And dude, she's good in this movie, but she sucks in this movie. She's such a bitch.
Oh, isn't there a Marsha comment too? Don't they throw that out at one point?
There is, because I guess she had been casted in that while they were making this, but hadn't starred in it yet. So they do refer to her being Marsha, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, oh, that was cool. And I also love Hey Dude. Haven't seen that show in years, but
hey,
grew up watching it on TV. Yeah, it's like the great theme song.
Yeah, Melody Hansen, man, the lifeguard. She's more like a death guard here, though. She was Terry. With an I, Jordan. Terry with an I.
That's right. Part of just the evil clique of Catholic schoolgirls tormenting Mouse. And then you have the character of Bibi, who's the friendlier one, who's kind of looking out for her. The pacing here really worked for me. It pulled me right in. It kept going. And it obviously they had a tiny bit more of a budget, but it still feels kind of indie, kind of cheap, straight to video in some ways. But in a lot of ways, it upped the ante from the first one, giving us a little bit more location to work with. So we have the boarding school, Catholic school location, along with the whole house where they return to. But, there's a moment where they go to the whole house kind of early in the beginning of the film, and then they get out of there, and then they go back to the school. And that was a surprise, and that was a relief because, like you said, you're starting to watch this worried that, are we just going to be stuck in this house again?
Dude,
like the first one?
That's exactly how I felt, man. You are speaking the thoughts I was having. Those are my concerns, too, and I was so happy that wasn't the case.
Yeah, same here. So, yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on where you have the nerdy kid who's into demonology, and he's, a believer in this, and he's worried about the kids going to the whole house and conjuring the demons. But, of course, you have the trope of the priest character who's, like, doesn't believe him, and he's just like, let's just focus on God's love. Don't worry about the demons or anything like that.
Sucks, man.
Yeah, that priest did suck really bad.
Dude, Johnny was the best character, man. I love Johnny so much. He is ready to fight some demons, man. He's just ready to go.
Along with the ruler-wielding battle nun with her rosary nunchucks or whatever that was.
Dude, that's the thing with this movie. So, watching this, compared to the first movie, there's not really anyone who's very rootable in that first movie. There's not really anyone to pull for, but you get this team here of Sister Gloria and Johnny fighting demons in the last act of this movie. I love them so much. Like, I was cheering them on. Anytime they were under a threat, I was like, no, don't kill them. I was getting really into that. So That's something
Definitely.
too that I think separates this movie from the first one.
Oh, totally. I felt the same way, where there was actual characters to root for. There was, sympathetic character of Mouse, who everyone is picking on, and the jock guys kind of pick on Johnny. So yeah, you immediately gravitate to those characters and you root for them. And then, like you said, you've got just a whole team that you can root for at the end, where they're battling the demons with holy water super soakers and holy water hand grenade, water balloons, and just lots of fun to be had, where you've got just different elements mixing it up that make it a lot more exciting than just running from demons in a hallway.
Have I been calling Perry Johnny this whole time?
Is his name Perry? I don't know. I don't remember any of the kids' names.
Damn it.
Just nerd guy into demons with the super soaker.
Everyone who loves Night of the Demons 2, everyone that loves it, I meant like the cool kid who is trying to convince everyone that demons exist and that they're a threat, and he's ready for the demons to attack. I don't mean BB's boyfriend, who is okay too. He's not hateable.
Oh, right.
Like, he does karate kicks, right? He's a karate kicker. I think is he Johnny? I think Perry is the one that I like the best. Man, I messed that up.
Yeah, there's nerd kid, and then there's BB's boyfriend, who has like the wicked trailer park mullet. And the kind of like Steve Buscemi eyes. I don't know. He looks really... It's just a strange looking kid to kind of pick for your kind of heroic jock character in a way in the end. And I was kind of sad to see Perry, was it? Or, nerd kid. I'll just keep calling him.
We can't do names here.
Yeah, he's taken out early, and then you've got mullet boyfriend that steps in. It's like, no, I want my nerd kid to, save the day. But, that's all right.
Oh, why can't we remember anyone's names in these things? And it's like, we do well if we can just say, like, well, I love whenever Harrison Ford punched that guy, right? Like, we don't know what anyone's name is, but we could say that.
We're doing well if we can get through Cruel Intentions saying the name Ryan Felipe or Philip or whatever it is. We still don't know.
What if the P is like a hard P the whole time, and it's like Ryan Philippe, and every iteration that we tried was incorrect. It was Felipe all along.
Oh man. Talking about the super soakers that they bust out toward the end with the holy water, was that in Lost Boys? I feel like that's been in another horror movie, and I'm trying to remember, was Jordan, that in Lost Boys?
It was in a really bad one that we covered. It was in Bordello of Blood in that last act. Remember that?
That's right. Yeah, with Dennis Miller busting out the super soakers.
And the only enjoyable scene in that entire film, yes.
But hey, Bordello Blood was 95? Oh, 96. Okay. That makes me love this even more then, because I was like, well, this is probably ripping off something. But no, maybe this was the genesis of the holy water super soaker, and Bordello Blood just totally ripped it off.
Right.
I mean, is it any surprise to you that, we're talking about which one we love more, that I would love the trashier, wackier sequel over, like, not a grounded beginning movie, by any means, but, I guess a little bit more subdued versus this very horny, very wacky, just gratuitous in every way trash fest of a movie. But it's just so fun. It's just so fun.
All of the Night of the Demons movies, all 4 of them are trash. They're all trash.
Yeah. There's just, that's like the genre they live in, basically. It's like trash horror is the subgenre.
Exactly. But the second one is just a lot of fun. And I don't even want to say for Night of the Demons 1, like, I've got 80s nostalgia. I was alive for that entire decade. I like those aesthetics. Night of the Demons 2 is just better. And I know that it's not looked as fondly upon because people have an attachment to that first movie because it's the first one.
Well, you know why it's better? Like, if Night of the Demons 1 is the epitome of 80s aesthetic, I feel like Night of the Demons 2 is the epitome of 90s aesthetic. And we're all here for the 90s, right? Like, that's why we love it so much. Because I feel like it definitely embodies the more, like, outrageous wackiness of the 90s.
Right. Dude, you nailed it. You nailed it completely. I feel like, obviously, we're doing a 90s show. It's our favorite decade. There's so many aesthetics here from the 90s. And I need to say this, Jordan. I had never heard of these movies whenever Doug recommended them. Jordan, I saw this movie before on USA Up All Night when I was 16. I saw this before. 2, Night of the Demons 2.
Okay.
Yes. Now, Christy Harris's boobs were edited out of the movie. There were no BB boobs. And that's the thing, too. This movie, if you look at the production details on Wikipedia, there's only one production detail, and it's actress Christy Harris was only 16 when she starred in the film, including performing a topless sex scene.
Right. Can we talk about that and, like, the issues I have with that watching this?
Yeah, well, it's weird, because
it's weird. I'm
going to let you finish, but just to finish the thought I had before, so I first watched this movie when I was 16, so I was flipping, you know, like I've talked about this before, you're a teenage boy in the 90s, it's Friday night at 1 a.m., everyone else in your house is asleep, you're looking for, you know, something on TV, something special, right? So USA Up All Night provided that a lot for teenage boys in the 90s.
For young teenage boys in the 90s, yes.
Right. So I flipped by there, and I see Christine Taylor in it, right? And I'm like, oh, man, Melody from Hey Dude. Night she's in her bra. This is awesome. And then I see Christy Harris, and I'm like, holy cow. She's even prettier than Christine Taylor, right? But I'm 16 at the time watching the movie. I'm not like a grown-up. I'm the same age as Christy Harris in the movie. So watching this now, I'm just thinking back to watching it back in the day. So now I'm not like ogling her like I was when I was 16. But at least like you know, they cut her boobs out of the USA Up All Night version, obviously. They cut a decent amount of things out. They left most of the gore in. So it was a little different for me just because I actually watched this whenever I was a teenager. But I can't imagine watching this as like a grown man, and I don't know. I'll let you finish your thought now. That's all I got to say.
Well, just to comment on the TV edit thing is like, isn't it still kind of insane? This American sensibility is like, we can show you people getting their heads cut off, or giant snake people exploded, or just all the insane gore, but you know, some shot of boobs. Nope, got to cut that. No good.
Right.
Can't pervert the young minds of these teenage boys up all night.
Right, because they definitely had like all the burning footage with the holy water, because there's not just super soakers, there's like water balloons full of holy water, like all of that is there, man.
Which just totally melt the bodies of these demon people, you know, these humans possessed by demons. But yeah, you just got this very gooey, very oozy, just body horror of these balloons bursting on people, and then you cut away and the faces are just melted off, or the top half of the body is just like in a pool of green goo on the floor, which is just awesome. You know, it's what we're here for. That's a 90s movie. Yeah.
Did you feel like those creature effects and the gore effects were better in this one than the 88 one?
Totally. Yeah. Like I said, in every way, it felt like it upped the ante. And you know, I don't know if it was the budget here or them just kind of having a more like all out balls to the wall sensibility, which it definitely has. Those creature effects were just gnarly. Just really loved it. But yeah, going back to the Christy Harris thing, yeah, watching this, I didn't know she was 16. And watching it, like you said, it's like, oh wow, she's like a very gorgeous person. And then obviously there's lots of gratuity there. But then reading about her being 16 and just being like, oh my God, again, like we talked about with the first movie. First off, we're talking about in the first movie, the Judy character, the brother popping out and be like, oh, you got giant cha-chas. And we're laughing about how, like, what 17-year-old has giant boobs like that. But this girl was literally 16 and she's got probably like the biggest, most natural looking boobs you've ever seen set to film. And that's just like kind of jaw dropping in a way. But yeah, then reading about how, like, I don't know, just the awkwardness that she felt filming this. And then she went on to do multiple topless scenes just like throughout her teenage years. Just like, you know, it definitely brings it down a notch. You're like, oh, that's kind of sad, man. Like, totally feel like, you know, they just manipulated this girl. And they talked about how she was nervous about it. And the director's like, oh, we'll just do a quick shot and then it'll be done. But then when she went and watched the movie, obviously they just kind of linger. Like the camera definitely is just lingering on her body and on her boobs and stuff. And she was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize what they were doing there, you know? But which is surprising that she'd keep doing more. But, you know, I guess like once you're in that genre and in that mode, it's probably kind of hard to get out, and there's a lot of pressure. So yeah, just a little daunting of a trivia fact for us there. 16, jeez, it's so young.
And man, I remember watching this when I was 16. So I got into it like 25 minutes into the movie. And that's another thing, right? I said I'd never heard of Night of the Demons. Back then, you didn't have like a guide button on your TV to see what you were watching. You know, you didn't just have like Google, like, what is movie with giant demon snake at end, right? Like you couldn't do
Right.
that back then. So I put the movie on right whenever they were leaving to go to Hull House. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, what kind of movie is this? What's going to happen? The moment where I realized this was a comedy, and intentionally so, and that there's actually a lot of, like, sly, like, smart humor here, and some really, really funny lines, is whenever they're building up to that love scene. And they've been going through this disgusting old morgue house, right? And they just happen on this bed covered with like black velvet that's like brand new and clean. And
Right.
she looks at her boyfriend, Johnny or Perry, or whichever the hell one he is.
Mullet
and
man. Mullet boy.
Mullet man. She looks at him and she says, this is when I realized it was a comedy. This is so romantic.
Right.
I laughed so hard. I had to cover my mouth with a pillow to not wake everyone in the house up back then.
Just the absurdity of that bed and those sheets itself, where it's just like everything else is covered in cobwebs, and then you get to this bed and it's obviously just set dressing for the porno that's about to ensue, you know? But speaking of boobs and the horror of this movie, upping the ante of the body horror here, one of my favorite parts, and I think, you know, speaks to the creativity of the original, is just where they go with some of, you know, obviously with the horror tropes, you know, you got it, the gratuity with nudity involved, but then to use that along with some of the horror elements and the demon possession here, it was really interesting because you have one of the Catholic girls who's like kind of the sluttiest, like bitchiest of the girls, and she's outside of Angela, one of the first ones to go demonic, and she's also got giant breasts, and she's ripping open her shirt at one time when they're at like the school dance back at the Catholic school. She rips open her shirt, and her giant breasts just turn into like these fleshy prosthetic hands, like these demon hands that just protrude out of her, and then they rip off like a guy's hand, I think, and he's just bleeding all over the place at this dance. Just that element of like turning the boobs into these weird like demon hands. It's just like, that is outrageous and very interesting and unique, and you got my attention once again.
Right. And I believe that character's name is Shirley Finnerty, right? Am I actually getting a character name right? Zoe Trilling. Whoever she is, she definitely operates as like the stereotypical like Catholic schoolgirl in trash movies. And she definitely could be a character
The bad
in like
girl, yeah.
Right. She could be a character in one of the Cruel Intentions sequels.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
This character in this movie, Shirley, like before she gets demon possessed, like a toned down version of that character, like I knew that girl, right? Like the way that the look that they give her, it also is like a very familiar look. Like there are a lot of things in this movie, like it gets so outrageous, like you said, boobs turning into demon hands and all kinds of stuff. But again, the characters at least kind of like, in a lot of horror movies, characters are just so dumb and so horny that even though humanity as a whole through history has been really dumb and horny, like it's to a point where they're not believable humans. Those are their only traits. And here I feel like most of the characters in this one, even though they're dumb and horny, they do feel like real people.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, for sure. Whereas in the first one, maybe a little bit more stereotypical or archetypal. You've just got like the innocent Judy character who's dressed all up like Alice in Wonderland, of course. She's like our innocent final girl heroine. And then you've got the dumb punk, like piggish stooge, you know, who's just calling his girlfriend a bitch and slapping around like from the first scene you see him in. So you just hate him immediately. I feel like here the characters are, a little bit more human. I mean, you've got a lot of tropes and a lot of stereotypes here too. You got the dumb jocks who are like, got the binoculars looking through the windows at the girls undressing, you know. And speaking of the lipstick earlier, I like that detail. They bring the lipstick back here, and just, again, the pervy kind of horniness of this movie. They've got to expand on the original idea. You have the lipstick attacking the Shirley character, the one that boobs turn into hands. So here you have the lipstick growing out of its casing into this gross, like very phallic, fleshy worm thing, very much a penis analogy, that then crawls up her leg and into her skirt and goes obviously inside of her to then turn her in a demon. So I thought, again, maybe not for everybody. This movie is definitely not gonna, appeal to everybody's taste, but despite how, again, pervy and horny that is, I thought that was at least creatively done. Whereas in the first movie, just grabbing someone's face and kissing them and then turning them into a demon, and you see that 3 or 4 times done, gets a little tired. Versus here, I felt like they took efforts to show the people turning into demons in various ways, and so that whole lipstick coming back from the original and then turning her that very special way was at least unique. What did you feel about it, Nick?
I felt like if we had just covered Ninja Scroll, there would be a really easy movie connection to do. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I spoiled my movie connection earlier. I'm talking about the giant snake demon lady. So even though that doesn't connect to our last episode, that's what I'm going with.
Man, the giant snake demon lady, the thing that I remember the most about this entire movie was a Catholic nun that could do karate and had nunchucks fighting a giant snake demon lady. And you get a fake out here where you think that they've killed the demon. They've killed Angela. It seems like it's all over with, which, by the way, the nun's head gets lopped off before that, and you find out she's so holy and so powerful that her head comes back. It's amazing.
Right. Or yeah, I was like, was that a fake head that she had on and then her real head popped up? Like, how did that work? Or yeah, it's just magic of being holy. I don't know.
Right.
You can't determine the logic in this movie. Yeah, it's just got to go with it. 2 weeks.
Yeah, that happened, and then I thought, wait, I thought there was a part with a giant snake demon thing. What happened? Did I imagine that?
Yeah, was that in my mind? Yeah.
And then, of course, as Johnny or Perry, Mullet Boy, whichever one, he's alive, and BB's alive, and the nun is alive, they're trying to get away. They think that they've escaped. I'm thinking, oh man, I thought there was a giant demon thing in here. My memory must be going wrong. Nope. Giant snake demon comes through the wall. It's amazing.
Which, if you haven't seen it, it's a total surprise. Because, yeah, I was just like, okay, yeah, they killed the demon. Now they're getting out of there. The movie's wrapping up. But I never would have expected Angela to turn into this naked, green, wrinkled giant snake creature, which was just awesome. And it's got like kind of these spikes on its tail too, and it's wrapping itself around some of the characters and throwing them around. They're having real trouble with her at first, and then they discover sun is coming up. The boards are on the window. They peel off one of the boards, and it makes a streak of light that looks like a cross shine onto her chest, and then the holy light of the dawn burns her up, and she ends up exploding from the cross here. I do like that in both of these movies. Sometimes you see movies where like characters will hold up a cross to a vampire or whatever, and or whatever demonic creature, and they're just like, that doesn't work on me. But I did enjoy that they just like kind of stuck with the tried and true. It was like, yeah, crosses work here. There is one point where Angela does seem like really powerful, and they try to hold up the cross, but like she has some sort of like, I don't know, telekinetic powers where she can just like knock things out of people's hands from across the room. So you definitely feel like she's the most powerful lead demon, which was cool that you just had like these kind of different levels, and then they built up to her. Whereas in the beginning, in the first movie, I didn't really feel like they did that. They just kind of, everybody's a demon, everybody's chasing you. Oh no, it's scary. So good. Naked snake ladies, I'm all for it.
Jordan Courtney, were you just speaking my love language?
What is that?
My major note for this entire movie goes to what you just said. So one thing that I really, really enjoyed with this movie that I don't think you would really see now, because you don't quite see this fully defined moral sense of good versus evil that this really stupid, dumbass 1994 movie has. Where like, it's really clear in here, like, who is good and who is evil, and like who is just ineffectual and is going to die. Like the priest, he's like this secularized priest, right? Like he has the role of priest, but like they show like what book does he have when he goes to bed? It's not the Bible.
Catcher in the Rye.
It's Catcher in the Rye. So the kid that I like, even though I can't remember his damn name, Nerd Kid is like reading up on scripture, right? Like he knows the Bible, like he's ready to fight evil. He is ready to go. The nun, she is training for this. She is working hard. She is ready to fight evil. So at the end of the movie, like you said, they're like a holy force. They got their crosses, they got their holy water, and it trumps evil. It defeats the evil. The goodness of these characters and BB, we didn't talk about Mouse much. Mouse is with them too. She gets away at the end too. She pretty much is just like in distress the whole time. Definitely the damsel in distress of the movie. And everyone is mean to her, but BB's like, don't be mean to Mouse. Her whole family's dead and her sister got turned into a demon. We shouldn't be rude to her, right? So it's like she's good. She's like a moral good. So you have like morally good characters. Like what other movie treats a nun with like this much holy respect, right? Like generally you have a figure like this, like early in the movie, they kind of like tease like maybe she's kind of villainous, right? She's like very strict with the kids, very, very strict. She's got her famous ruler that she's always putting between them and saying, leave some room for the Holy Spirit. But guess what? She kicks demon ass with that ruler later on and then tells the demons as she's killing them, leave some room for the Holy Spirit. And it's hilarious and awesome. And I loved her. And I love that in this movie, that like those things do work. Like those old symbols, those religious symbols, like it's real and it works in this movie. Like there's a reason in Her Satanic Majesty Star Wars sequel trilogy in those movies.
Gotta bring that back.
As much as I hate the Star Wars sequel trilogy, there's a moment in The Force Awakens that I feel like gives everybody chills. And it gave me chills the first time I watched it, where our new characters are talking about the Force and Jedi or whatever, like that's some ancient thing. Han Solo says, it's real. It's all real, with conviction. And like, it just gives you chills. And like, for me in a movie like this, even though it's just a stupid, schlocky movie with boobs and gore and stupidity, the fact that you have these rootable, laudable characters fighting evil at the end and like a clear good and evil, it was like refreshing. I was like, holy shit, where's this been for like the past 5 or 6 years? I loved it. So that really lifted this movie high up for me, which again, I mean, it's not like a great movie or even a good movie. I mean, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 because I enjoyed it a lot. But
it's hard to say it's like a great movie or anything, but I definitely agree with everything you just said. As far as the characters being rootable, refreshing to see like these kind of holy good characters trump evil in the end, and there's no like snark or tongue-in-cheek effort to it,
or even irony.
I guess that's what I was looking for. There's just the irony with those religious characters, but yeah, just fun to see those characters like get their due and take down this giant evil snake demon, which I was totally not expecting, which is totally fun. You've got just the kind of gnarly factory of goo explosion at the end, which her body just flying in every which part. And so we talked about the old man bumper at the beginning for the first movie and the beginning and end there. What did you think of our little send-off moment at the end of Night of the Demons 2, going back again to that little lipstick canister?
Wait, quick comment, because it'll feed into this. So on the scene where, of course, our priest is like completely ineffectual and like a non-believer, whenever the awesome kid is telling him like, that's a demon right there, he's going to kill us, come on, we have to fight it, and he's like, you stupid kid, there's no such thing as demons, let's just talk to this guy and then we can leave. And the stupid priest gets killed and becomes a demon. Like, were you yelling at the screen on that part like, no, you idiot? Because he takes the super soaker out of awesome kid's hand and like throws it, and he's like, you don't need this.
Right, it's very purposefully done to like get any weapon away from the awesome kid. Or it's just like, you don't need this. He sets it down and like on a gurney or something, and he's like, oh yeah, take off that backpack too. So he's just like, let me get rid of all your arsenal so that we can go talk to this obvious demon over here that's just gonna rip your head off.
But again, because this like even though it's really stupid, this movie like understands like, you know what though, like the fulfilling thing for the audience would be for this priest to get his comeuppance and for Awesome Kid to get those weapons back and still get to kick ass with them. That's the catharsis that you need. And you get that. You get that, Jordan.
Definitely.
This movie gets it. The people who made this movie understand things. But, I was whooping at the TV then at the stupid priest. And at the end of the movie, when I saw the lipstick, I was yelling at the screen again. It's like, don't pick that up. Who puts on lipstick that they find on the ground? What are you doing?
Right? Are you really going to use that? And then you open it up and it's got like this terrible CGI snake that pops out.
I enjoyed it though. I mean,
yeah,
it fit the tone of the rest of the movie.
Right. It's just dumb and goofy fun. It's like, okay, obviously we're going to have a third movie eventually. We didn't talk about Brian Trenchard Smith, the director of this movie. And guess what? Another movie connection to a past episode. He directed Leprechaun 4 in space.
Yes, he did.
That's the same energy that, he brought to that movie. He brings here, and just like a lot of creativity to the schlock, and just very gratuitous, of course, and just outrageous. But that movie was so fun. I enjoyed that a lot. And yeah, I felt like it's a kindred spirit to Night of the Demons 2.
I agree, but I feel like Night of the Demons 2 is better just because I feel like the Leprechaun one, in between the outrageousness, there's some filler, and there's not a lot of filler in Night of the Demons 2. It's like almost all killer.
Yeah, it's all killer. It's lots of gags that work and work and work just like time after time. Yeah, versus Leprechaun 4 does have some moments where you're just like, okay, really? But I mean, you've got the leprechaun popping out of a dude's crotch, so there is that.
Yes, that's true.
So he also directed just a couple other things: BMX Bandits, The Quest, Dead End Drive-In, which I haven't seen, but I've seen come up a lot as far as underrated horror, and apparently it's a Tarantino favorite. So Dead End Drive-In, also a Brian Trenchard Smith movie. Apparently Tarantino at some point said he was one of his favorite directors, mainly because of that movie, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have to check that one out at some point.
Cool, man. So what's your score for this?
I think, I'll go with like a 3.5 out of 5. I don't think it's quite like, where I could say it's a 4, like, straight up solid, like classic I'm going to go back to. But it was a lot of fun. Like, I think I would, if I was like at a party with some friends and we wanted to put on like a trash horror, I would, and people hadn't seen it, I'd say, hey, you got to see Night of the Demons 2. And they'd be like, oh, I haven't seen Night of the Demons 1. I'd be like, nah, you don't really need to. Let's just watch the sequel.
I watched this back in the day, like 5 years ago or so, and then I watched it twice for this, and I still laughed every time I watched it. Like, I was still laughing. Like, it didn't get old. So I could easily see throwing this on. Like, this feels like one of those movies that we would all, like, crowd in my room or someone else's house, someone else's room, just crowd in and watch and just laugh hysterically the whole time. Like, if we had known about this movie, then if I had known what the name of the movie was when I watched it on USA Up All Night, I feel like I would have found this on DVD and shown it to everyone, because it's amazing. It has that Sam Raimi energy in a way. It's just, it's got more nudity than those movies, but it's not like overflowing nudity nonstop. There's like a segment of the movie that has the nudity. So if you're like, oh man, I don't want all that stuff in this movie. I don't want to see boobs. I just want to see heads explode. That stuff's pretty much concentrated to the middle of the movie. So it's not just like, it's not like a softcore porn movie.
Right.
It's mainly a horror comedy.
And like I said, I don't feel like you would be missing much if you skip the first one, really. Like I feel like this is one of those sequels that you don't really, like the first one's not going to give you much other than like we went to this haunted house and got possessed by demons. So like you get all that here. They kind of set it up from the beginning. So yeah, if you haven't seen either of these movies and you're itching for like a really fun, goofy horror comedy, I'd say, yeah, just dive right into Night of the Demons 2. And then maybe go back to the 88 one just to check it out if you're interested.
Right on. Well, for Movie Connection, I'm not sure if you had one or not to the last two, in addition to things that you've already said. Is there anything there?
Outbreak of demons, it's like a pandemic of demons. Lots of demons. It's like a virus that gets inside you and just changes you, and like maybe there's some anal bleeding, maybe there's not. I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking you've got killer animals here because you have demon snakes, and then of course you've got spider webs everywhere and spiders. I mean, it's a pretty easy connection.
Yeah.
I feel like Chaz and Doug talked this one out beforehand, because there's a lot of synchronicity between these movies. And you know what? You cut Outbreak out and they're all funny to some degree.
I mean, Outbreak, arguably has some funny moments. I still laugh at the still that I have of Outbreak on my wall at work, which is just Dustin Hoffman holding up the picture, the Polaroid of the monkey, and then a handwritten sign that has a phone number on it, and just the kind of like goofy blank stare that he has. He's just like, call me about this call me about my monkey. It's just, what comes into my mind, which could also be like a little horny if you look at it the wrong way. Just like these movies. Did it. Solid movie connection. Yeah.
Perfect. That was perfect. That got me excited enough to work up the voice to say, now I'm going to talk about Night of the Demons 3 for like 30 seconds. Dude, it sucks so bad. It gets no music.
I forgot we had to talk about these things.
It gets no music. It gets no transition. It sucks, man. It's not available on any streaming service. It's not on like any media that you can like buy that's in print right now. I think everyone who made this would probably rather it be forgotten because it sucks, man.
It's been banished. Yeah.
It is total trash. And I don't mean the fun kind of trash that you love and that I enjoy sometimes. It sucks. It sucks, dude. It's a total 1 out of 10 movie. It's like, I had to watch it on YouTube, and the person who posted it on YouTube was getting a lot of like credit for getting a good transfer for the best that you can get for this movie, which is not good. Not good at all.
Still looks like garbage.
Yeah, it looks like garbage, and it's like, dude, like the beginning of the movie, like when they introduce you to the girls in this movie, the introduction is literally they're both naked, like in their room, and they're comparing the size of each other's boobs.
Wow.
By the way, they're on their way to a high school dance. They're getting dressed to go to a high school dance. So they're supposed to be high school girls.
But before we do, let's compare our boob sizes.
Right. One's like, I wish I had your body. And the other one's like, your boobs aren't small. And she's like, well, look at how big yours are. That's how it starts.
Oh my gosh.
And then it gets trashier from there.
It just there sucks. And get worse. Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, none of it is fun. The aesthetics from the first two movies are just like not done here. It's just like total trash. It's like not even straight to video. It feels like, because I know this was like a Canadian. Right. It was like a Canadian production. It feels like straight to late night Canadian television. Like the budget feels like it was like $5. They tried to like change it up a little where they're like, they have like this gang, like this van full of like kind of rough kids that the girls end up with getting like tied up to, basically because they run out of gas and the van picks them up and they go to a gas station. There ends up being a shootout with these kids and the cops. And then the kids, they flee and then they go to Hull House somehow, but they couldn't like afford to get the same house or set from the other movie. So it's a completely different house. And that's rough. Yeah, it's stupid. It sucks. Like the whole movie, just they reuse footage from the other movies. Like I know the second one reused a little bit from the first one, but they just straight up reuse like minutes of the other movies. It's terrible. Like the acting is bad. The direction, like it's not good. The special effects are terrible. It's so bad. It's so bad. And then there's like one girl who hasn't taken off her shirt yet, and you're like, but then she does. So like everyone gets naked in this movie. It's like it tries to hit all the beats from the other movies, and it just hits them all wrong.
I was waiting for the shirt to drop, if you will, from the first movie with Judy, where it's just like, okay, we've seen her in her bra. She's in the Alice in Wonderland costume. Is like, how are they going to get her out of that? Basically, because which is like, I guess the weight of a lot of horror movie plots. Just like, okay, what can we invent to get these girls out of their clothes?
That's the funny thing too. I was reading an interview with her where she was talking about the movie, and she was like, shockingly, like, they never asked me to show my boobs outside of, wearing a completely see-through bra, but my butt is in the movie, and it like perplexed her. She was like, I guess they just wanted to show my butt. I don't know.
When did they show her butt? Is that in the beginning when she's getting dressed?
Yeah, when she bends over while she's changing and changes her underwear. She changes her panties. Yeah, and her little brother is watching. I should add that point. Her little brother's ready to jump out at her.
Through the horror mask, yeah.
Right. Oh, I have to mention this about 3, too. Bad ADR. This whole movie is ADR too. So there's a point where they get to Hull House and they walk in and they have like a 5-minute conversation where they like forgot to record the actors talking when they originally filmed it, I guess. So they ADR them having a conversation where none of their mouths are moving.
Wow.
It's one of the most insane things I've ever seen because it's not supposed to be their thoughts, right? Like, I guess you could use your imagination to make it look like they're using telepathy. They're supposed to be talking to one another. Their lips aren't even moving because it's clear they only filmed footage of them walking into the house and looking worried. It's so bad. It's total crap, dude. It's total crap.
You said 30 seconds. You've overkilled it.
Oh, no. Yeah, I guess that only leaves me 30 seconds to talk about Night of the Demons 2009 remake. Dude. So 2009 is important to me because it's the year my son was born. But you know what? This movie is like total 2009 trash. But like almost in a good way. Like this is like a 5 out of 10 movie for me because I enjoyed it. It's garbage though. Like it's terrible. It's a terrible movie. But if you like trashy 2000s aesthetics, which is definitely like a thing, I can enjoy that to a degree.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I was in college and then I graduated and then I got married and then, I had a kid and I had like bachelor time in the middle somewhere there. A lot of fond memories of that decade. And I watched some trashy stuff then. You got Edward Furlong, who is, very well known to us from the 90s.
T2, baby.
I really like this guy. He had a lot of trouble and struggles with drugs and other issues in his life. And he's been sober for a while. And he's just a really funny presence now. Like he's very self-deprecating about his career and things that he's done in his life. I just find him to be a really enjoyable presence. And he actually met his partner of the last 13 years, Monica Keena. She's the final girl in this movie. Okay. And they changed things up a lot. It's a remake, but dude, it takes place in New Orleans. They filmed it all in New Orleans. So there's some landmarks there. And it's got like that New Orleans 2000s trash flavor too on top of it. It's got that local flavor. And I feel like they got a lot of those little New Orleans details right. So it's pretty fun.
Gumbo of horror, yeah.
Right. You got Shannon Elizabeth here, who is like our new Angela. She's our brand new Angela.
I'm glad they didn't bring Amelia back. That would just be sad.
Right. That would be weird.
I'm 50 years old and I'm here to shake it, baby. I sounded like that grandma from Beavis and Butthead Do America.
You did. That was amazing. That was good. But it's like the first two movies in a lot of ways. I mean, it's trash. It's got a lot of crazy gore. It's got some stupid nudity. Like there's a sex scene where this guy is having sex with this girl and he's possessed with the demon, and he uses his wiener to possess her with the demon. So as they're having sex, she's making pleasured sex noises, then weird noises, then demon noises, and then her eyes get the black contact lens look. It's
the demonic wiener.
Right.
Nice.
It's like the most bizarre, weird sex scene I've ever seen in a movie.
Is it more bizarre than the lipstick penis?
It's like this movie's lipstick penis.
Yeah. But an actual penis.
Right. But I laughed a lot when I was watching it. I mean, there's like some disgusting, like completely classless gore that was like pretty entertaining. And I was saying like, this is stupid out loud a lot. But I don't know, man. I had fun. If you enjoy that aesthetic, again, it's like kind of like with the 80s, how there's like that soft, foggy look. With the 2000s, there's more like just harsh, garish lighting where there's like a lot of like weird, like not quite neon reds and greens and purples of where you're like, why are people being lit this way? There's no light like this coming into the room. That makes no sense.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff like that. Oh, and then the soundtrack is like totally badass for no reason. Like, I don't know why.
Why did they give this movie a badass soundtrack? Who would do such a thing?
They have like Typo Negative is in here, man.
Yeah.
I really enjoy them a lot whenever they started pumping through the TV speaker or my soundbar. Actually, I had my soundbar cranked for this because the music was so good.
Bringing back some of that punk aesthetic.
Yeah, man. I was really jamming on that. And then they play like the Sons of Liberty. There's just like a lot of like really cool music in this movie, which they must have blown like the entire budget of the movie. Well, no, because the gore's not bad. It's like very obviously a low budget movie. But like playing Black Number One by Typo Negative has got to cost you at least a few dollars, right?
Yeah.
It's got to cost you a little bit, especially when you play like most of the song. So
yeah, $10 for makeup and $10 for a soundtrack.
There you
That's your
go.
budget.
There you go.
And $10 for Edward Furlong. Sad to say, but that's probably where he's at.
I can't really recommend this movie on like any like logical metric, but hey, if you liked any of the other Night of the Demons movies, or you like Edward Furlong, or you just like 2000s trash, or like really stupid schlocky horror movies that are funny, this movie is passable. Like, you could watch this.
Yeah, I think you've sold me. I mean, you had me kind of at Edward Furlong. I didn't realize he was in this. But, you know, I enjoyed Night of the Demons too, and the schlocky, goofy horror is up my alley. So I think I'll check this out.
On the terms that I stated, I'd recommend it. Only on those terms, but I would
only
recommend
on those
it
terms. Yes, definitely. You know, you can recommend the trash to me. All right. So that's our full slate of Night of the Demons movies. Moving into our trivia battle.
Hold it! Pop quiz, hotshot.
All right, dude. I wrote some questions for you.
And of course, I've got my Fred Willard book here. Didn't write questions. Just the lazier of the two, obviously. So maybe that's why I always lose.
Nice. Well, I put a lot of thought into mine, because a lot of times I'll try to find like some element in the movie, like a particular actor was in this, so I'll ask questions about this. But, you know, these are pretty obscure movies that don't exactly have, like, a lot of major actors or directors or writers in them, where the questions that I could ask you would be fair, because we kind of made a rule, like, we should be able to know the answers to our own questions, or, like, reasonably know them, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing that I could pull from here is Christine Taylor, because, you know, she's been in a lot of fairly big stuff. So all my questions are Christine Taylor based.
Gotcha. I can tell I'm going to lose already, but let's just do it anyway.
I think you're going to win this one. I feel good about you this time.
I don't know. I've got Fred Willard's horror movie trivia here. So stop me if I've asked any of these of you before, or maybe don't stop me, because, yeah, then you'll win even easier. Okay, first question. In which movie does Charles Lee Ray's evil soul live on? Can you give me the answer already? Is it that easy?
Give me the choices.
Okay. Friday the 13th from 1980. B, Fright Night from 85. C, Child's Play from 88. Or D, Magic from 78.
It's Child's Play, right?
You got it.
You know, I wasn't 100% sure. I haven't watched a Child's Play movie in like 25 years or longer. That was probably like 95. It's been a long time, man. Nothing against Chucky. I hadn't watched his movies in forever.
Well, at least that made you scratch your head for a second.
You did. You totally did.
Point for me. Right? That's how it works?
That's a point for me. That's a point for me.
Okay.
Maybe you'll be able to answer this, though. Here's a movie Christine Taylor was in. Who wrote and directed 2004's Dodgeball, a true underdog story? A, Ben Stiller. B, Dennis Dugan. C, David Dobkin. D, Rawson Marshall Thurber.
Was it Dennis Dugan?
No, it was Rawson Marshall Thurber.
Ah, okay.
I was hoping that you would pick up on, like, his name is really weird, so it must be him, but it didn't happen. Damn.
Well, sometimes you just throw in weird names just cause. Like Donk Cephas.
That's right. Donk Cephas. Maybe he's real.
Which song is heard at the end of An American Werewolf in London? Is it A, Blue Moon, B, Bad Moon Rising, C, Moon Dance, or D, Werewolves of London?
Ah, man, I haven't seen this since the 90s, too. Probably 1998. There are a few movies that end with Bad Moon Rising. I'm just going to go with that.
You are incorrect. It was A, Blue Moon.
No, didn't remember, man.
3 versions of Blue Moon are featured on the soundtrack.
Oh, wow. All right, we got ourselves a ball game. I missed a question. That's fun. It's refreshing.
Okay. Refreshing for you, yeah. For me. Or the listeners who are just like, thank God.
All right. In which of these 90s Adam Sandler films did Christine Taylor star? Was it A, Mr. Deeds, B, Big Daddy, C, Little Nicky, or D, The Wedding Singer?
Was it Big Daddy?
No, The Wedding Singer.
She starred in that?
Yeah, dude.
What?
Christine Taylor.
Why am I thinking Drew Barrymore?
Well, she wasn't like the romantic lead. She was like the friend character.
Okay. In which film does a beat-up Ford Pinto get lots of screen time? Was it A, Cujo, B, Christine, C, Maximum Overdrive, or D, The Car?
I feel like they were trapped in a Pinto in Cujo, right?
Cujo it is. I think I want to say I might have asked you that one before, honestly.
You probably did, and I probably knew it back then.
You probably did. Yeah. just checking up on your old noggin, making sure it's all still there.
All right. Well, to possibly eliminate you, I'm going to ask you my most fun question.
Okay.
In what 1999 comedy thriller did Taylor star in with Christopher Walken and Robert Forster? Was it A, Kiss Vegas Goodbye, B, Kiss Scranton Goodbye, C, Kiss Philly Goodbye, or D, Kiss Toledo Goodbye?
Let's go Kiss Philly Goodbye. They feel like Philly guys. No?
No, it's Kiss Toledo Goodbye, man.
Kiss Toledo. Okay. Yeah. Kiss Forster's got some Toledo in him. Should have known. Okay. So that I'm out, right? We're done here.
Yeah, you lost again.
What am I punished
Sorry,
with
buddy.
this time? Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, listeners. I know you were rooting for me. You thought I was going to win this time.
I'm struggling with the punishment that will fit, because we have a pretty cool episode coming up next. All our episodes are cool. I'm not dissing any other one, but this one's a bit different. We've got an author coming on, and we're talking about 1998's Can't Hardly Wait, which people have mentioned, like, when are you doing Can't Hardly Wait? A lot of times in the past 3 years.
Yeah, so I'm excited about this. We've got Matt Pais, P-A-I-S, talk 90s with me, his new book that's just come out, with interviews from different actors from the 90s and notable movies. So we're talking about Can't Hardly Wait, and he did an interview with Charlie Korsmo, notable from Hook, What About Bob, and of course one of my favorite characters from Can't Hardly Wait. So I'm really excited about that one. But yeah, what do you think would pair with this? And I know I could give you my punishment, or I could watch the movie that I was going to punish you with.
Have you seen the movie you're going to punish me with?
Oh yeah. It's not a all-time favorite, but we're going back to it recently, and he actually interviewed one of the actors in this movie, so kind of brought my attention back to it.
What's that movie?
Dead Man on Campus.
Is that the one with Mark Paul Gosselaar?
That would be a fun connection with Matt's other book, Zach Morris Lied 329 Times, reassessing every ridiculous episode of Saved by the Bell. I don't know. It's up to you. It's the ball is in your court because you won the trivia battle. I'm just throwing that out there. Dead Man on Campus.
Well, look, Jordan, I'll just tell you, I never watched this. It looked terrible back in the day. And, I don't... Current Rotten Tomatoes is about as reliable as the Ford Pinto from Cujo if you found that car somewhere now and tried to drive it. But, back in 1998 when this movie was released, I think I'll probably trust that this 15% rating that it received from critics is close to spot on. So this sounds like a punishment movie. So, yeah, right. Let's do it. Let's pair up Dead Man on Campus and Can't Hardly Wait.
There we go. Good chum. Both from 1998. I don't know. And you were talking about wanting to bring in some of the darkness because we're still in, the horror season here. And this is a comedy / dark comedy, according to Google. And as far as I remember, it's basically these two guys trying to get their roommate to commit suicides because there's some rule within the campus that states they would automatically get like a 4.0 or they'd pass their classes if their roommate committed suicide. So it's got some darkness to it there. And I'll just go out and say, I don't think it'll be a punishment for me. I think it'll just be like catching up with a dumb old friend. There's some scenes in this that I really laugh at. But yes, I duped you once again, giving me a light punishment.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
I lose so often, I might as well have some joy in my punishments.
If you're going to have to watch an objectively bad movie, at least it's an objectively bad movie that you enjoy. Or enjoyed. Maybe you won't now.
I'm just going to root for you to watch it with me since you've never seen it. Oh, we got one movie that's all about graduating high school. Can't Hardly Wait, and the big final party of the year. What's the natural progression from high school is going to college where you're the dead man on campus. So that works too. Synergy, Nick. Synergy.
All right, maybe I'll watch it. We'll see.
And like I said, can't hardly wait. Speaking of horror movies, just that whole going out into the real world of facing adulthood, what could be more horrific than that? So if you're on the horror movie train, you can come on with us into Can't Hardly Wait and not miss a beat.
Perfect, Jordan. Wow. That's Filmshake right there. Everything's connected for us.
That's right. All these movie connections. All right. Well, that's our show. Thank you guys for listening. You can definitely help us out by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. If you want to reach out, we are on Twitter and Facebook at 90s Movies Pod. You can write us an email at filmshakepodcast@gmail.com. And of course, we have a Patreon. If you are interested in supporting the show, if you love the show, you can support us there and get bonus content. $3 a month, you get a bonus episode every month where we dive into some other movies that we've been watching. Some 90s, some not. We just kind of open the gambit there. So you get to hear us talk even more about movies. What could be better? Check us out on patreon.com/filmshake for bonus content. All right, guys. Thanks. We'll catch you next time for more Filmshake.
Take it easy.
Now it's All Hallows Eve. The moon is full. Will she trick or treat? I bet she will.
Prodigious boobies, sis. If you keep on going, you'll have to hire someone just to tie your shoes.
Ow!